Now, on to our last topic, guys. This past week, Kevin Feige did what he does, teases the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe by saying, yes, we're getting a TV and movie crossover down the road, but he doesn't know when. Now, let me pause right there and tell you, he knows when it's happening, because just go back to when Spider-Man got announced for the MCU. He was like, anytime they ask him, so it's going to happen in Civil War, he's like, well, you know, we gotta, not necessarily, but we have to play very carefully and make sure everything, listen, it fucking happened in Civil War, we all knew. There was leaked set photos that were like, no, Tom Holland is right near the set, and he's still denying it. So, it's probably happening in Infinity War Part 1 or Part 2. And that's why he's now saying, yeah, it's going to happen, you know? So,
I think it's just going to be like a list, like a name, like Daisy Johnson will be seen listed on a screen, or just a picture of like a personnel's file. I don't think you're going to have any real crossover happening.
I think if they do that, there's going to be a lot of backlash.
I think if they do more than that, it's going to be, it's like, yeah, it's just at the movie's detriment.
Because then is that a crossover?
See,
I don't think it is.
I think it's more of a confirmation than a crossover.
That's
here was my big idea that I was thinking of. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to get renewed. It's how it happens.
I hope it does. This season has been really return to form.
There's rumors it's been stealth greenlit.
Here's my prediction is, we know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is probably on its way out after next season. My guess is they're going to have 12 episodes left over once this season wraps. They're probably going to renew it for 12 episodes, and 12th episode would automatically land on 100th. Why not celebrate the series with a 100th episode that ends in May, leading right into Infinity War, and when the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers show up, you can make those quick rolls, you know, like they did in, what was it, Age of Ultron, when Nick Fury shows up out of nowhere with a helicarrier, everybody was like, wait, I thought those got destroyed. It's like, no, watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It wouldn't be that intrusive and kind of, oh my god, what the hell, but it's enough to say, oh look, there those guys are, because there's no way that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continues on for another season when Thanos is attacking Earth and they don't somehow address that. Like,
they won't have the budget
to
do
I
that.
honestly think they're going to renew it for like 12 episodes and just end it on episode 100 and call it a day, because look at it, you know, the series does great numbers, it's always consistent, and this...
So that's the thing. I don't like. I know I've been saying it for the last year. Every time we said they're going to do it, like one more season. If it makes money, why cancel it?
Yeah. To be honest,
especially if it makes if it's the most for ABC. I don't know if it is the most for ABC, but why would you stop that?
Because some showrunners, producers feel like the story is complete, you know, and I feel like that's a good explanation. That's why some comic series.
That's fine if it's their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess.
I mean, it could be
I mean, feasibly, we could come down to being real. We're probably going to get Inhumans season 2 and 3. It's going to be a big hit. But being real, what if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the ending, and then we're going to start getting 12 or 8 to 12 episode series produced by IMAX twice a year, one in September, one in the spring? Well, who's to say one of those isn't Namor already gearing up for next year? You know, like we don't know, but that was listed on in production coming soon. So like, we really don't know much, but I think there is something there that we're not seeing yet. And I would rather Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. end in a proper way than keep going and do that.
But here's the thing. I'd want to see how they cope with everything after.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I wouldn't want the series to have ended leading into Infinity War. We see them in Infinity War, then nothing. It's kind of like, no, what happened after?
At least do you think they could actually get away with just taking a break for a year? Because I mean, Doctor Who just did that last year. There was no new season, and now obviously it's back again.
But I feel like that only really works in like British TV in a way, because American TV they don't take breaks really. Yeah,
I mean, Prison Break just came back after a long hiatus.
Yeah, but they didn't know that was coming a break.
Yeah.
They thought that was canceled, and they're like, hey, there's another story, and that's just not how it works here. It's every year is a new season, and I totally get it because it makes sense. Like, I mean, Westworld, right? It's gonna have like a 2-year break, whatever. And I guess that's one of the few ones, but that's like the one out of 100 or something.
I just think some shows need to take some time off. I mean, I remember between the between the second to last and the final season of Lost, there was a year between seasons,
Yeah.
and
that was a writer's strike.
That's true.
That was part. No, the writer's strike was during the previous season, but then they did take a full season before coming back with the final one, just because they knew they had to get an ending, and it didn't work. The ending still kind of sucks for the last 5 minutes.
The big thing you run into with this whole Marvel thing is, okay, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans are going to be an easy-ass crossover. Those two, I think, can easily work, because the nature of how they're placed in this universe is more so than the Defenders. For a second, I have a hard time believing those guys show up. And if they do, you could probably use Luke Cage and that's it. So...
Or you have them in the back of a television. That'd be weak. That'd be cheap.
That's just an Easter egg, that's not a crossover.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, the whole point of a crossover is them interacting. That's what makes it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we've had lies about crossovers before. I mean, let's face it. This year, CW said that the 4-night crossover for their shows was going to be one continuous story, and it really wasn't. The Supergirl episode was barely.
The Supergirl wasn't, but I would say the other three were essentially like.
Well, even Arrow's Dream Sequence.
Yeah, I would say even that one was like continuous.
Like their anniversary.
I've talked to some of my friends who are like, they watch the stuff and they constantly bitch about Marvel not crossing over, and I had them line up to me like I was just okay. How do you think the crossover should work? And they were like, okay, so in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this happens, and then at the end of it, Nick Fury shows up with Tony Stark, and then they're in the Avengers. But then you watch Daredevil season 3, episode 7, and there's Captain America and Rocket Raccoon. I was like, are you fucking insane? That's not how it fucking works.
At the same time, that's I mean, I'm sure your friend watches all these shows, but I don't know, is he kind of into everything? Like, he reads all the comics and all that? Because I would say there's a difference between the people who are like 100% into every single little detail and kind of like the general audience, because the general audience think differently.
The general audience, the ones that are going, I want him to appear in this shot because
yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's exactly how the friend.
So this guy reads a little bit of comics and stuff. He's into the world and he'll read it if it's important, but he's always kind of like thinks he's smarter than everybody to how they should handle everything. So I'm like we meet him constantly get in at, and I'm like, listen, that's not how this works. You can't just have Rocket Raccoon spend 2 episodes with fucking Luke Cage and the Defenders. Like, that wouldn't make sense.
Plus, we've had movie characters show up on TV. Yeah. What we haven't had is the TV characters showing up in movies. And I am fine with that, because that's what people want. Nobody cares if Samuel L. Jackson shows up again on S.H.I.E.L.D. because he's done it before. The
point is, the movies cannot service the TV shows because the movies have 2 hours to tell their story. The TV shows can service the movies because they got 22 fucking hours. Like, it's like... It's completely different, and I guarantee you, maybe on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the crossover, when they inevitably get to it, I really wouldn't be surprised if we see someone like Jeremy Renner show up, because I think he'd be the logical one that would be like, yeah, I'll do it, fuck it, like, dude, he makes more selling real estate a year than he does for movies in a decade, so that dude is huge.
Yeah. I mean, what if the way they do it is just like Coulson comes back during Infinity War and it's like, I'm not dead, this is
I'd be okay
team.
with that.
Is there anything we can do?
Don't we all agree eventually they have to do that? Like, bring Coulson back to the fold?
I think that is the only end game show has.
Yeah, same here. Cause,
I mean, they said in the episodes with Lady Sif, like, he specifically asked her not to tell Thor because he wants to do it himself in person.
Yeah,
so why not have that meeting in Infinity War?
So,
a bunch of stuff has happened between that moment and now.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool if, like, the scenario I see in my head playing out is like the Avengers are ready to go with the Guardians off Earth. They're like, who's going to stand to defend Earth? We barely got anybody. Maria Hill walks in, Coulson walks in, he goes, I got a team, and there's a few guys around the world that I can assemble. You guys are good to go. And all of us go, shit, we know what he's saying. And maybe he gives them a file that says Defenders, whatever the hell. But I don't want these guys like, oh, look out the window, and there's fucking Daredevil, like, swinging by or some shit. It's like, what? Get out of here.
This is my thing. It's not going to be the S.H.I.E.L.D. that's going to cross over. It is 100% going to
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I know I said this like every time, but something cropped up that I found quite interesting. I'm probably digging too much into it. But we know Infinity War is taking from Hickman's Infinity event. But if you look at Anson Mount's Twitter the other day, he's reading Inhumanity. Mm-hmm. Now, she put those two rants side by side.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, surely it has to like just be the Inhumans are going to cross over. Maybe Shield if they cross over in the Inhumans at the end or something.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know. Maybe that's just one of the books he's been told to read.
it's just I just find it really it's too convenient that they're looking at Hickman's run with the Black Order and everything, and then the Inhumans are now looking at that specific.
And being real, if you're gonna read the Inhumans to study your character, Infinity with the Inhumans probably isn't a good starting point because it's
kind of. And like and especially what happens in that event where it is the Inhumans are now out in the world, and we know in the series that they're going to be coming down to Earth. It's like something has to.
It does, yeah.
It's like Avengers disassembled in like the Infinity First Look. Something is coming from that book, but. I don't know. That's just me connecting dots that I'm sure aren't there.
We're back to the conspiracy podcast again.
Oh, yeah.
I love it though. I love this.
I just had to say that because I saw it the other day and I was like, this, like, if this isn't happening, like, this is the biggest dick tease for me you could possibly do.
I mean, I haven't read these books, but just from your enthusiasm, if this is what's happening, I'm down.
There's going to be a crossover. We know it. He's confirmed it. We know it's happening. We just don't know when. And honestly, I think that's part of the fun. If we didn't know that the Defenders or Inhumans or anybody shot cameos, and we go into Infinity War and we fully see them, we'll go, holy fuck. Like, that's something finally, shocking.
There goes to my point. Who says surprises are dead? Who doesn't love a good surprise nowadays? Don't be spoiled, kids. Don't go on the internet looking for spoilers on Reddit. Just be surprised, is what I'm saying.
But you don't have to look for them to get spoiled. Like, if you
it's true. A lot of the times they're in your face. But
like any comment section before Guardians even came out in the UK was Yondu dies.
Oh, hey, yeah. Whoa, really? Wow.
Well, I mean, everyone's seen it by now.
I was. So
I didn't even look. Well, I guess to be fair, I didn't actively look at anything.
To be real, like Kevin Feige and
it was like when Han Solo dies. It was.
And Kevin Feige and James Gunn also went out and they were like, oh yeah, so when the old Guardians appear and people are like, dude, that's a spoiler. I was like, no. They told people, like they wanted people to know. So,
see, I didn't even know that. See,
announce these characters. So.
See, I personally love, y'all know me about my spoilers, and I like if it's in my face, whatever. What are you gonna do, buddy? But I didn't even hear that. I didn't even hear that they said, "Oh, Guardians and the 3000, all the other ones." So when I saw them, I was like, "Whoa!"
Guardians because Sylvester's character got leaked.
Yep.
Well, see, I didn't even know any characters. I'm just happy that I guess wherever I go on the internet, it isn't happy to be there. So yeah. So I'm just saying, you gotta.
It's just a new thing these days. Like you just go into any random comment section. It's like, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. It's like,
I saw it with Logan. I saw Furious. Like,
it started with Han Solo.
Yes, it started with Han Solo. You're right.
I saw that the Logan thing. Before I went to see Logan, there was promotional material, and one of the first comments was Charles dies, and I was just like,
oh my god, dude, really?
Yeah. People do it to fuck with people, and then other assholes upvote it so that it's the top comment on the video.
See,
every time.
Me, it was the whole like Charles dies thing. It wasn't that it was a big deal, but IGN had posted an article like 13 other times Professor X dies, and I was like, oh, well, he must die in the movie, like. But it's all right.
I don't know. I was kind of hoping he'd survive this one, and like the way that he died was kind of heartbreaking, even if it was tied to a silly sort of two Hugh Jackman fighting each other scene. But it was heartbreaking, and it was kind of beautiful. And I was just very sad that was sport for me, to be honest.
Does anybody see those